Listen closely. This is not a message for the weak. This is for those who are sick of standing still while the clock ticks. You don't need more time. You need courage. The only thing between who you are and who you want to be is the action you refuse to take. And until you force yourself to act, nothing in your life will change. Ever. The truth is brutal but freeing. No one is coming to save you. Not tomorrow. Not next year. Not when you feel ready. You are the answer to every excuse, every delay, every lost opportunity. And the moment you finally step into that truth, you become unstoppable. Your destiny is not waiting to be found, it's waiting to be forged. What you do today is either constructing your dream or reinforcing your failure. If you're not moving forward, you're falling backward. This is the law. There is no neutral ground in growth. You either build or you decay. And if you're not forcing yourself to take that next step, your dream is dying. Slowly, quietly, but surely. Do not confuse thinking with doing. Wishing is not working. Studying is not building. Planning is not progress. Action is the only language the universe responds to. If your feet don't move, neither will your life. You can read every book, attend every seminar, but until your hands get dirty and your heart beats in the battlefield, you'll remain stuck. Discomfort is not your enemy, comfort is. The real war is fought not on stages, not in crowds, but in silence, at 5 a.m. when no one's watching, when you choose to act while others sleep. That's where champions are made, where the weak are left behind. If you can force yourself to act despite fear, doubt, and delay, you've already won. Every excuse you make is a chain. Every delay is a brick in the wall keeping you from your purpose. Rip those chains off. Smash those walls down. Start with what you have, use what you know, and move. Motion is magic. It breeds energy, confidence, and opportunity. Do not wait for the perfect plan. The plan perfects itself through bold movement. You say you want change, but do you? If you did, you'd act. Wanting isn't enough. You must become obsessed with execution. Decide what must be done and do it without debate. Successful people don't negotiate with weakness. They act, then adjust. They fall, then rise. They bleed, then build. That's the mindset of power. Force is necessary. You are not wired for greatness by default. You are wired for safety. So greatness must be enforced. Wake up earlier, do what's uncomfortable, speak when you're scared, act before you're ready, train your spirit to obey your vision, not your feelings. That's how you take the throne of your own life. It starts with one action, one step, one decision. And from that spark comes the fire. The difference between the ordinary and the extraordinary is that the extraordinary are willing to move forward when it hurts, when it's unclear, when it feels impossible, because they burned the bridge to retreat. Let the pain push you. Let the dream pull you, but never let inaction define you. You were not born to wait, you were born to win. So stand up, lock eyes with the future, and take action now. Desire is nothing without execution. You can want it with every breath in your body. You can dream about it every night, visualize it every morning, talk about it, write about it, post it, and pray for it. But until you act, it means absolutely nothing. The world does not reward intentions, it rewards action. Results don't come to those who dream, they come to those who dare to move. You will never be remembered for what you almost did, what you planned to do, or what you talked yourself into someday starting. Your desire, no matter how deep, is powerless without discipline, without movement, without force behind it. Dreams are fuel, but action is the engine. And unless you start the engine, you're not going anywhere. You can't wait until you feel like it. You have to move when it's uncomfortable, when you're scared, when every cell in your body tells you to wait. That's the line that separates the successful from the spectators, the doers from the dreamers. Stop telling yourself the lie that you're not ready. No one is ready. Readiness is a myth sold to the weak-minded. Winners don't wait for the green light. They become the green light. They act while everyone else is waiting for permission. They push forward while the rest stall in indecision. The moment you feel fear, that's the sign you must go. That resistance is the compass pointing you toward what you need to do. Don't run from it, run into it, because on the other side of resistance is the growth you're starving for. The only way to destroy fear is to act despite it. You want power? Take it. Not by wishing, not by watching, but by doing. You don't build confidence by sitting still. You build it by surviving the storm. One action at a time, one decision at a time, one moment of courage at a time. The harsh truth is this: no one is coming to push you. No one is coming to save you. If you don't push yourself, you will remain exactly where you are, and life does not wait for anyone. It moves with or without you. While you hesitate, someone else is doing. While you make excuses, someone else is executing. While you sleep on your potential, someone else is building theirs. Success doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't ask if you're tired or overwhelmed. It only rewards the person who shows up over and over again, no matter what. The ones who rise are the ones who refuse to stay down. The ones who win are the ones who refuse to give in. No matter how many setbacks, no matter how much pain, they show up. You must do the same. Your future is watching. It is shaped by your decisions right now. Every second you waste, you are shaping a version of yourself you will regret meeting. But every action you take, no matter how small, builds a version of you you'll be proud of. You don't need motivation. You need movement. You don't need more books or videos or strategies. You need to do what you already know you must do. You've been carrying the blueprint inside you this entire time. Now it's time to build. Stop overthinking. Stop waiting for signs. The sign is already here. The pain is the sign. The hunger is the sign. The restlessness in your chest is the sign. And action is the cure. You don't become powerful by staying safe. Power is built through pressure. Growth is built through struggle. And the fire you're avoiding is the exact place you must go. Pressure creates diamonds, but only if you stay in it long enough to transform. The easy path is the enemy of greatness. Discomfort is your ally. When it hurts, lean in. When it's hard, go harder. Because every time you face what you fear, every time you take a step when it's hard, you're rewriting your identity. You're proving to yourself that you are stronger than weakness, stronger than doubt, stronger than hesitation. You become the type of person who acts, and that's the person who wins. The person you want to become already exists, but it's buried underneath the version of you that refuses to take action. If you want to meet your potential, you have to kill your excuses, burn your fallback plans, eliminate the option to retreat. You must become dangerous to your own laziness. You must become a threat to your own mediocrity. That version of you who acts boldly, who leads with courage, who dominates with intensity, that version is waiting. But it won't come alive through thought alone. It only wakes up through motion. Movement creates identity, and every time you act, you become more of who you're meant to be. There will never be a perfect moment. There will never be a day when it all feels easy. And that's the point. If it were easy, everyone would be doing it. But you weren't made to be like everyone. You were built to rise, to fight, to overcome. Your mind will beg you to wait, to rest, to stop, but your purpose must be louder. You must override the voice of weakness with the roar of will. You must move when you want to stop. You must act when you want to delay. That's what separates leaders from losers. That's what builds legends. Not talent, not luck, relentless action. This is not about feeling inspired. This is about becoming unstoppable. And the only way to do that is to force yourself to act every single day. Whether you like it or not, whether it's convenient or not, whether you're scared or not, action beats everything. It beats fear. It beats laziness. It beats talent. It beats doubt. It beats hesitation. So take the next step, and then another, and don't stop until the vision in your mind is standing in front of you, real, solid, earned. No one else will build your life. That's your job. And it starts now. Discipline is stronger than motivation. Motivation is a mood, a fleeting spark that comes and goes without warning. One moment it lifts you, the next it abandons you. But discipline is different. Discipline is a decision. It's the steel spine of success, the unshakable foundation that holds firm when the storms of doubt, fatigue, and fear rage through your life. Discipline shows up when motivation disappears. It doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't care what time it is. It doesn't ask for permission. Discipline acts. It gets up at 5 a.m. when your body says no. It finishes the task when your mind begs to quit. It doesn't seek comfort, it seeks completion. And that's why the disciplined dominate. not because they're always inspired, but because they act in spite of every reason not to, the world doesn't reward the most motivated, it rewards the most consistent. Consistency is born from discipline. It's the decision to keep showing up, keep moving forward, keep grinding when the initial excitement is gone, when the goal still feels far, when no one is clapping, and the results are invisible. Motivation can push you for a day, maybe a week, but discipline builds empires over years. The ones who win are not those who get fired up once in a while. They're the ones who do what needs to be done every day, no matter what. They make discipline a way of life, not a tool for emergencies. They do the boring work. They master the routine. They grind in silence until the world can't ignore them. You rely on motivation. You'll lose every time it disappears. If you build your life around discipline, you become untouchable. No delay, no setback, no emotion can control a person who has mastered themselves. The disciplined don't wait to feel right. They choose to do what's right. They train their mind to follow orders. They don't negotiate with weakness. They don't argue with fatigue. They execute. Whether it's sunny or storming, whether they feel energized or drained, they keep going. Because for them, quitting is not a choice. Excuses are not an option. They made a promise to their future, and they keep it with every step they take, especially when it's hard. You think the successful are motivated all the time? They're not. They're human just like you. But what separates them is they built habits that override their moods. They've trained discipline like a muscle, day after day, rep after rep, failure after failure. They've taught themselves to rise after falling, to move when it hurts, to focus when it's chaotic. And now, their discipline carries them through what motivation never could. While others wait for the right moment, they create it. While others complain about how they feel, they focus on what must be done. This is how they keep rising. This is how they become unbeatable. Your emotions will lie to you. They'll whisper that it's okay to skip, to stop, to slow down. Discipline silences that voice. Discipline reminds you that your goals don't care how you feel. The mission is still the mission. The standard is still the standard, and it must be met whether you're excited or exhausted. That's the mindset of the relentless. That's the armor of the elite. They don't break under pressure. They break records because they don't rely on motivation to carry them. They rely on the power of choice, the fire of commitment, the force of discipline that they built day by day. When you operate from discipline, you free yourself. You no longer need to be inspired to work, encouraged to move, or motivated to perform. You just do it because that's who you are now. You become dangerous because nothing stops a person who has decided to keep going no matter what. Pain doesn't stop them. Doubt doesn't stall them. Rejection doesn't slow them. They are already committed, already locked in, already burning from the inside with a discipline that does not die when the world gets dark. You must make that shift. Stop looking for the next motivational boost. Stop waiting for the mood to strike. Build discipline. Build structure. Set a schedule and keep it. Do what's hard until it becomes normal. Show up every day like it's your duty, because it is. Your dream is counting on you. And every time you choose to do what's necessary instead of what's easy, you feed that dream. You strengthen it. You bring it closer. Motivation may get you started, but only discipline will finish the race. This isn't about hype. This is about legacy. The legacy you build through your habits, your actions, your rituals. People will remember how relentless you were, not how hyped you were. They'll remember how you showed up, how you delivered, how you refused to quit when others walked away. That's what discipline gives you. The power to endure, to rise, to finish what others fear to start. The power to become who you were meant to be, not just who you feel like being. This is your moment to decide, to stop relying on temporary sparks and start building permanent fire. You're not a slave to your feelings. You're a master of your fate. But only if you choose to be. Only if you trade excuses for execution. Only if you replace laziness with structure. Only if you decide, truly decide, to be disciplined. Because in the end, the disciplined don't hope for greatness. They demand it. They show up and take it. And now, it's your turn to do the same. Success responds to speed. It doesn't wait for the hesitant, doesn't reward the overthinker, doesn't slow down for those who doubt. It moves fast, and it favors those who move faster. The longer you wait, the colder the opportunity gets. Doors don't stay open forever. Life doesn't pause while you analyze. While you're busy trying to be perfect, someone else is executing at full throttle, making mistakes, learning, adapting, and winning. Speed is power because it allows you to test, to fail forward, to gain experience while others are still sitting on the sidelines convincing themselves it's not the right time. Speed separates the successful from the forgotten. Every second you delay, you hand your advantage to someone else who had the courage to leap while you were still thinking it's not about being reckless. It's about being decisive. Every moment you hesitate, you surrender ground. Every delay makes your vision weaker, your drive colder, your path dimmer. Speed multiplies momentum. The faster you move, the more energy you create. The more energy you create, the more belief you build. The more belief you build, the more you achieve. You don't need all the answers. You need a direction, a burning desire, and the guts to act now. You can't study your way into success. You have to do your way into it. Execution is your teacher. Action is your guide. The road will not reveal itself to the idle. It only appears to the one who walks it without delay. The greatest opportunities come and go in a flash. If you blink, they're gone. If you wait to feel ready, you'll still be waiting when the moment has already passed. Success doesn't care if you're scared. It doesn't care if you're unsure. It only cares if you move. Fast now. Without second guessing. Without waiting for reassurance. Without asking for validation. Those who win are the ones who say yes and figure it out later. They understand that mistakes made in motion are better than regrets built in silence. They know the clock is ticking, that time is not their ally, that hesitation is the enemy of greatness. Speed forces growth. It demands courage. It sharpens your instinct. When you move fast, you cut through noise. You bypass the excuses. You make bold decisions that forge your character. When you act with urgency, the universe moves with you. The people you need show up. The resources you lack become available. The path clears, not because it was easy, but because you had the audacity to move while others were waiting. Momentum is a force you can only access through speed. It doesn't come to the cautious. It doesn't come to the comfortable. It comes to the ones who step forward with conviction. Even when the ground ahead isn't fully visible, you don't need more time. You need less delay. Time is not the answer. Action is. People waste years in preparation while others build empires by simply starting. You will never outthink action. You will never outplan the one who outmoves you. Thinking without doing is a form of paralysis disguised as intelligence. It's a clever way to hide fear, but fear doesn't fade with more thought. It only fades when you face it with movement. Speed shatters fear. Speed destroys doubt. Speed is the proof that you believe in yourself, even when no one else does look around at the people who are winning. They're not the most talented. They're not the smartest. They're the fastest to act, the fastest to fail, the fastest to learn, the fastest to pivot, the fastest to rise again. That's the secret no one wants to admit. While others are trying to figure out the perfect plan, these people are building momentum, stacking wins, gathering experience, and creating their own opportunities. They know that life rewards execution, not perfection. They understand that speed doesn't guarantee success, but it does guarantee progress. And progress, repeated with intensity, becomes unstoppable power. You can't afford to move slow in a world that changes every second. You either adapt fast or you get left behind. You either act on your vision or you become a spectator in someone else's. This is the age of acceleration. Everything is shifting. Business, technology, communication, influence, and the only way to lead is to move quickly. Waiting is no longer safe. Waiting is now the most dangerous move you can make. Because while you wait, someone else builds. While you hesitate, someone else executes. While you stay stuck, someone else passes you. And once they've built momentum, they're gone. You can't catch up to someone who never stopped moving. The best time to start was yesterday. The second best time is now. Not after you feel ready. Not after the fear disappears. Not after the conditions are ideal. Now, right now. Because once you commit an act, the path begins to respond. The people you need begin to appear. The pieces start falling into place, but none of that happens if you stay frozen. None of that happens if you keep waiting for clarity. Clarity comes from action. Confidence comes from speed. Growth comes from motion. Your entire life changes when you move with urgency. The most dangerous mindset is thinking you have more time. You don't. You have this moment, this one, right now. And what you do with it will echo through your future. Every second matters. Every delay costs something. There are people who could have been great, who could have changed the world, who could have lived their dreams, but they moved too slow. They waited too long. They hesitated until it was too late. Don't let that be your story. Don't let your dream die in the waiting room of hesitation. Take it, chase it, build it, move. Speed is the key. Speed is the separator. Speed is the difference between what could have been and what becomes real. Procrastination is a silent killer. It doesn't crash through your life with chaos or noise. It whispers. It sneaks in quietly, hiding behind good intentions, disguising itself as rest, calling itself patience, pretending to be harmless. But every time you say later, a part of your potential dies. Every time you delay action, your momentum weakens, your confidence erodes, and your future dims. It doesn't strike in a single blow. It eats you one excuse at a time, one missed opportunity at a time, one day wasted after another. And by the time you realize it, you're not behind by a step. You're buried under years of hesitation, regret, and lost time. That's how procrastination wins, not by overpowering you, but by making you comfortable with doing nothing. It begins with small decisions. You tell yourself it's just a short break. You say you'll start tomorrow. You convince yourself you need more information, more energy, a better time. But that time never comes. You've been lying to yourself with words like someday and soon, not realizing those words are the graveyard of dreams. Procrastination feeds on your fear. It thrives on your doubt. And the longer you wait, the stronger it becomes. The harder it is to move. The heavier the weight of inaction becomes. You start to believe the lie that it's too late, that you missed your chance, that maybe your goals weren't realistic to begin with. But the truth is, they were possible. You just didn't act. You don't need more time. You need more urgency. You need to stop making promises to tomorrow and start delivering today. There is no perfect moment. The only moment you own is now. You can't afford to keep negotiating with laziness, debating with fear, or letting your dreams rot in the waiting room of almost started. The cost of procrastination isn't just time, it's identity. Because every time you avoid action, you reinforce the belief that you're someone who doesn't follow through. You train your brain to expect failure. You condition your spirit to accept delay. And that's how you start becoming someone you don't even recognize. The ones who rise are not always the most talented. They're not always the most gifted. They're the ones who act, the ones who refuse to wait, the ones who feel fear but step forward anyway. They know the clock is ticking. They know the longer they wait, the harder it becomes to build. They know procrastination is a habit. And like every habit, it gets stronger the more you feed it. You kill it by starving it. You starve it by doing the work, by starting, by moving, even when it's hard, even when it's uncomfortable, even when you don't feel like it. That's how you win. Most people aren't defeated by failure. They're defeated by delay. They talk themselves out of greatness before they ever take the first step. They wait until the stars align, until motivation strikes, until someone gives them permission. But success doesn't wait for the perfect conditions. It belongs to those who move before they're ready, those who act when it's inconvenient, those who understand that progress is built in discomfort. There is no growth in procrastination. There is no power in postponement. The life you want is on the other side of action, and procrastination is the wall you built to avoid facing it. Think about the time you've lost. Think about the opportunities you watched slip away, not because you weren't good enough, but because you didn't move. How much longer will you tolerate it? How many more goals will you bury under the weight of, I'll do it later? How many more chances will you destroy with your own delay? At some point, the pain of not acting must outweigh the comfort of waiting. At some point, you must decide that your dreams matter more than your distractions, that your purpose is more important than your fear, that your life is too valuable to waste it in a holding pattern of hesitation. Start small, but start now. Don't wait for inspiration. Don't wait for clarity. Clarity comes through action. Energy comes through motion. Confidence is built by doing the very things you keep avoiding. You don't need a perfect plan. You need a relentless attitude. You need to become the kind of person who doesn't wait to feel ready, who doesn't pause for permission, who doesn't give in to the whispers of comfort, because the longer you listen to them, the louder they get, and soon they drown out everything else, until all you hear is doubt, and all you feel is regret. Procrastination will rob you of everything if you let it. It doesn't care about your potential. It doesn't care about your passion. It only cares about stopping you. But the good news is you can kill it right now with one decision, one action, one moment of courage. You don't have to win the whole war today. You just have to win this moment. Take the step you've been avoiding. Make the call. Finish the project. Start the routine. Face the thing that scares you. That's how you build momentum. That's how you take your life back. That's how you become the version of you who doesn't just dream, but delivers. The time you've lost is already gone. But the time you have now is a weapon if you choose to use it. The world will not wait for you. Your opportunity will not last forever. If you want something different, you must move differently. Do not let procrastination write your story. Rip the pen from its hand. Take control. Move with urgency. Fight with focus. Act with fire. And don't stop until the future you see in your mind is standing in front of you, built not by luck, not by chance, but by the power of decisions made and action taken before the clock ran out. Clarity follows movement, not the other way around. You don't get clear by sitting still. You don't find direction by overthinking. You don't discover answers by waiting. You move, and the movement creates the path. Action is what reveals what works and what doesn't. Motion is what brings precision to the vague. You cannot figure out your entire future by standing still and thinking it through. Life doesn't work like that. You earn clarity by doing, by stepping forward, by making decisions and adjusting, by committing to progress even when you don't have all the answers. Movement breaks the fog. It reveals options you never saw. It opens doors that only appear when your feet are in motion. But as long as you stay still, overanalyzing, hesitating, doubting, nothing changes. The confusion stays, the fear grows, and your goals fade into the background of your overcomplicated mind. The ones who win in life are not the ones who had the most certainty in the beginning. They are the ones who had the courage to begin, without certainty, without full understanding, without perfect conditions. They stepped into the unknown, and the clarity they were searching for began to form with each step they took. Progress created feedback. Results created insight, and from that came direction. Waiting never gave it to them. Planning alone didn't give it to them. Thinking harder didn't produce it. The answers they needed lived on the other side of action, but they only found them because they moved. Most people don't lack clarity. They lack movement. They sit in the same place day after day, overwhelmed by all the options, paralyzed by fear of the wrong step, stuck in the illusion that more thinking will produce more certainty. But the longer they stay there, the worse it gets. The mind becomes a maze, looping the same questions with no exit. The solution is not to think more, it's to do more. You don't need to see the whole staircase to take the first step. You don't need to know the next 10 years to take control of the next 10 minutes. You act. You learn, you adapt. That's how real clarity is born. Perfectionism is a liar. It tells you to wait until you're sure, until it's all lined up, until you're ready. But readiness is not a feeling. It's a result of starting. Confidence is not a requirement. It's a reward for stepping forward. Every great creator, leader, and builder you admire began in a place of uncertainty. They were confused, too. They were scared, too. But they understood a principle that most ignore. The only way out is through. You break through confusion by facing it head-on with relentless movement. You make the call. You write the words. You build the first version. You say yes. You jump in. And from that decision, the fog begins to lift people. Spend years planning the perfect business, the perfect relationship, the perfect routine, never starting, always tweaking, always adjusting the blueprint, and never laying the first brick, and then they wonder why nothing changes. But nothing changes because nothing moves. The world doesn't respond to thoughts, it responds to action. And clarity is a response. It's the reward for forward motion. You want to know if something works? Do it. You want to know if a path is right? Walk it. You want to know who you are? Challenge yourself. Put yourself in the fire. Movement reveals truth. Stillness only feeds fantasy. You can't create a powerful life from the sidelines. You can't build momentum by watching. You can't discover who you are while waiting for the perfect moment. You have to show up, messy, unready, unsure. You have to throw yourself into the process and learn why you're in it. This is the only way to escape the loop of stagnation. This is the only way to stop the endless cycle of hesitation. You move and your vision sharpens. You act and your fear weakens. You commit and the path begins to align. But none of that happens in your head. It only happens through your hands, your feet, your voice, your effort. You already know more than enough to begin. The lie that you need more information is a delay tactic your mind uses to keep you safe. But safety is not the goal. Growth is. And growth only happens in motion. You get stronger when you lift. You get faster when you run. You get wiser when you act. Thinking is useful, but without action, it becomes a prison. You must break out. You must take the leap before you feel ready. You must understand that clarity is not a prerequisite for success. It is the result of its start now, not next week, not when you feel better, not when the plan is perfect. Start now with whatever you have, wherever you are. Make the moves. Send the message. Launch the idea. Take the first step. What you're looking for won't appear until you commit. The confidence you want, the certainty you crave, the path you seek, it's all hiding behind action. As long as you wait, they stay hidden. But the moment you move, they start to appear. Slowly at first, then quickly. Like pieces of a puzzle that fall into place only when you have the courage to pick them up and start connecting. Clarity is earned, not found. It doesn't come to the idle, it comes to the bold. It doesn't come to the passive, it comes to the decisive. If you want a life of direction, of certainty, of purpose, you must be willing to walk through the confusion. You must be willing to act in the dark. You must be willing to move when nothing is guaranteed. Because that's where clarity lives, not in thought but in action, not in fear but in forward movement, and it's waiting for you, not someday, but right now. Self-trust comes from proof, not from words, not from hopes, not from empty promises whispered into the night. You don't build belief in yourself by wishing you were stronger. You build it by doing the hard things you said you would do. Confidence doesn't magically appear. It is earned through evidence. You say you're disciplined, then prove it by showing up when it's hard. You say you're committed, then prove it by refusing to quit when no one's watching. The only way to believe in yourself is to give yourself a reason to. And the only way to do that is through action. Not once, not occasionally, but relentlessly. Self-trust is the result of daily battles won in silence. It's the power that grows from choosing discipline over comfort, truth over excuse, movement over delay. And the more proof you stack, the louder your belief becomes. You can't talk your way into confidence. You must act your way into it. Every time you do what you said you would do, your identity shifts. Every promise you keep to yourself is a brick in the foundation of unshakable self-belief. Most people struggle not because they're incapable, but because they've betrayed themselves too many times. They've made too many silent deals with laziness, abandoned too many goals when things got hard, backed down too many times when fear crept in. They don't trust themselves because they have no evidence that they will follow through. And without that, no amount of motivation, affirmation, or external praise will fill the gap. The most dangerous thing you can do is lie to yourself. To set goals and abandon them. To say you'll change and never take the first step. To declare a new standard and then fall back into old patterns. Because every time you do, you chip away at your own strength. You become your own enemy. And deep down you know it. That's why the guilt follows. That's why the doubt grows. That's why the fear lingers. Not because you can't win, but because you haven't proved to yourself that you will. The mind remembers your actions. And if your actions are weak, your confidence will be too. But the moment you start keeping your word to yourself, everything begins to shift. You don't need to become perfect. You need to become consistent. Show up when you said you would. Finish what you start. Follow through on the little things, even when no one else would notice if you quit. That's how self-respect is built. That's how power is forged. You start to believe in your voice because it stops sounding like a lie. You stop needing outside validation because your own actions validate your worth. You become solid. grounded, resilient, not because you never fall, but because you always get back up and do what must be done. Proof is what separates the dreamer from the doer. Many people want more confidence, but they're not willing to do what creates it. They chase motivation, but avoid the discipline that actually builds it. They wait to feel ready, but don't realize readiness comes from the track record of action. You must become your own evidence, not once, not twice, but daily, relentlessly, until you can look in the mirror and say with complete certainty, I can count on me. And when you reach that point, nothing can stop you. Because the person who believes in themselves has already won half the battle. You don't have to start big. You just have to start. Small promises kept daily are more powerful than massive declarations that go nowhere. Wake up when you said you would. Finish the task you were going to quit. Say no to the temptation you said you'd resist. These are the acts that build trust. These are the reps that build belief. Each one adds weight to your character. Each one tells your brain, I am the kind of person who follows through. And soon that belief becomes who you are, not because you said it, but because you lived it when it gets hard, and it will. Remember this. That hard moment is the very proof you're searching for. That is the test that, when passed, rewrites your identity. Anyone can move when it's easy, but when it's painful, when it's boring, when no one cares and you still push through, that's when the real shift happens. That's when the voice of doubt begins to quiet. That's when you start to believe that you are not like the rest, that you are built for more, that your word means something. And once that belief is set in motion, it becomes a weapon. Because now you're not just chasing a goal, you're protecting a standard. You are not broken. You are not unmotivated. You are simply unproven to yourself. And that's fixable. You don't need another plan, another strategy, another course. You need action. You need to start keeping the promises you make to yourself. Even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, because that's the only way to rise. That's the only way to become unshakable. Your confidence doesn't come from what you say you're going to do. It comes from what you do repeatedly when it matters most. It comes from showing up again and again until your mind has no choice but to believe you are unstoppable. You are the proof. You are the process. You are the result of every choice you make. Build trust one step at a time. Stack evidence, delivered daily, and soon your belief will be untouchable. Not because someone told you to believe in yourself, but because you gave yourself every reason to. Excuses are the language of failure. They are the soft lies we whisper to ourselves to avoid hard truths. They sound intelligent, even reasonable, but they are the poison of progress. Every excuse is a brick in the wall that separates you from the life you want. They don't just slow you down, they paralyze you. They rob you of ownership, strip you of power, and make you a victim in a game where you were born to lead. You cannot make excuses and progress at the same time. You must choose. Excuses are comfort wrapped in weakness. They let you stay where you are without guilt, but they guarantee that you never become who you were meant to be. The most dangerous thing about excuses is how convincing they sound. They wear the mask of logic. They dress up like facts. I'm too tired, I'm too busy, I don't know how, it's not the right time. All of these statements feel valid in the moment, but they are lies rooted in fear and avoidance. Because deep down you know the truth. You could have started, you could have pushed, you could have acted. But instead you let the excuse win. And every time you do, you weaken your mindset. You reinforce the identity of someone who backs down, someone who doesn't follow through, someone who plays small when life is begging you to play big. Excuses are easy. That's why they're so popular. They require no effort, no courage, no sacrifice. Anyone can make one. But building something great, that requires you to shut them down, to look them in the face and call them out for what they are, delays dressed as decisions. You want to build discipline? Stop justifying your weakness. You want to develop confidence? Stop defending your laziness. You want to create change? Stop explaining why you can't and start proving that you can. The first step to transforming your life is refusing to tolerate the voice of excuses any longer. You were not born to settle. You were not built to explain away your greatness. Every time you make an excuse, you're selling your future for comfort, and that trade is never worth it. You think you're avoiding pain, but you're choosing a deeper, longer pain, the pain of regret, the pain of watching others pass you by. the pain of knowing you didn't give everything. You'll never hear a champion speak in excuses. They speak in actions, in standards, in execution. That's the language of success. And it's a language you must master if you want to rise. The truth is, your situation may not be your fault, but your response is always your responsibility. Life is hard for everyone. Every achiever you admire had excuses too. They had challenges, distractions, doubts, fears. The difference is, they didn't bow to them. They stood up. They acted anyway, because they knew that the world doesn't care about your reasons. It only responds to your results. You can either focus on the obstacle or the outcome. One builds excuses, the other builds legacy. And that choice belongs to you every single day. Excuses feel safe, but they're cages. They trap your potential behind a wall of could-have-beens. You stay in the same place, living the same problems, repeating the same patterns, and wondering why your life never changes. It doesn't change because you haven't changed. You haven't decided that your future matters more than your fears, that your mission is more important than your moods, that your dreams are too urgent to keep postponing. Stop negotiating with weakness. Start acting like the person you say you want to become. No one has ever climbed to greatness by explaining why they didn't start. No one has ever inspired the world by pointing to their list of excuses. You inspire by doing what most won't, by showing up when it's inconvenient, by delivering when it's difficult, by staying the course when everything in you wants to run. That's what earns respect. That's what builds identity. Not the perfect plan, not the endless preparation, but the relentless refusal to back down when it's easier to make an excuse. You will never rise above the level of standards you accept. And if you accept excuses, you're choosing average. But if you destroy them, if you crush them before they leave your lips, you open the door to a new level of self-respect. You become the kind of person who keeps promises to themselves, who acts in alignment with their words, who lives with urgency, hunger, and integrity. That kind of person doesn't need to explain failure because they refuse to allow it. Not through arrogance, but through ownership. They own everything: the wins, the losses, the work, the growth. And that mindset, when practiced daily, makes them unstoppable. Excuses are the enemy of ownership. And ownership is the foundation of all achievement. You cannot lead your life if you're constantly defending your limitations. The world gives more to the ones who demand more from themselves. The opportunities don't go to the smartest or most talented. They go to the ones who move, who take the hit and keep going, who stop making excuses and start making progress, who stop telling stories and start building results. And that can be you, but only if you shut down the voice that tells you it's okay to wait. You already know what needs to be done. You already know where you've been avoiding, what you've been delaying, where you've been playing small. The time for stories is over. This is about action, about rising, about holding yourself to a standard so high that there's no room left for excuses. Because once you do that, once you decide that excuses no longer live in your life, everything changes. The path opens, the power returns, the momentum builds. And you become the kind of person who doesn't just talk about success, they live it. Every single day, action transforms identity. It is not affirmations, intentions, or wishful thinking that shape who you are. It is what you do when no one is watching. The moment you act, you cast a vote for the person you are becoming. Every step forward, every decision executed, every habit followed through, they all chisel your character. You cannot think your way into a new life. You must act your way into one. Your future self is being built in silence by your present efforts. You are either reinforcing the person you've always been or constructing someone entirely new. And that transformation isn't found in waiting, it's found in doing. You don't become disciplined by talking about discipline. You become disciplined by showing up when you don't feel like it. You don't become confident by reading about confidence. You build confidence by stepping into fear and surviving it. You don't become a leader by calling yourself one. You lead by choosing responsibility over comfort. Action redefines how you see yourself. It rewrites the story in your mind. Because the first time you do something hard, something uncomfortable, something inconsistent with your old self, you prove that you're not stuck. You prove you have the power to become more. Nothing happens until you move. All change, all growth, all transformation begins with movement. People wait for clarity, wait for motivation, wait for certainty. But clarity is not a prerequisite for action. Action is the catalyst of clarity. You don't need to know the whole path. You need to take the next step. That step shifts your identity. Suddenly, you are no longer someone who waits. You are someone who moves. And that shift matters more than any perfect plan. Because once you've acted, even once, you carry evidence that change is possible. And when your brain sees that evidence, it adjusts the way it sees you. Your self-image is not fixed. It is shaped daily by the decisions you make and the behaviors you repeat. Every excuse reinforces the old identity. Every execution reinforces the new one. You can't escape this truth. You are being sculpted right now by your discipline or your denial. That's why action must come before belief. Belief grows stronger every time you follow through. Every rep, every step, every moment of courage builds identity in real time. You become what you repeatedly do, not what you wish for, not what you plan for, not what you post about. Identity follows behavior, and behavior is always a choice. If you want to change your life, don't chase perfection, chase proof. Every time you take action, no matter how small, you gather proof. Proof that you're not lazy, proof that you're capable, proof that you can finish. That proof is more powerful than any external validation. Because once you believe it internally, no one can take it from you. When you build identity through action, your confidence is rooted in reality. It's not fake positivity, it's grounded self-respect. You don't need permission to grow. You need execution. You need follow-through. You need movement. Because when you move, your world moves with you. Most people are waiting to feel ready before they take action. But readiness is an illusion. Readiness comes from action. You grow by stepping before you're prepared. You build strength by lifting what feels heavy. You evolve by doing what you once avoided. And each time you act in opposition to the old self, the weaker self, the hesitant self, you weaken its grip and strengthen the new you. That is how true identity change happens. Not overnight, not through willpower, but through 1,000 small acts of courage that no one applauds, but you never forget there is no finish line in self-development. There is only action or inaction. One builds you, the other buries you. You want to feel worthy? Act like it. You want to feel like a winner? Start winning your mornings. Start keeping promises to yourself. Start building momentum in the dark when no one's clapping. That is the price of transformation. It's paid daily. It's paid through behavior. It's paid through work. And the identity you build with that currency